And now we are in to the drop, which is pretty much what everyone really wanted to know how I did. So we're in the drop, and actually let me play the drop for you guys. Alright, so let's get into this. First of all, we got the super saw. So as far as these super saws, super simple. This one looks like it's a preset, but it's not hard to make super saws. All you gotta do is turn the wave to the saw. You gotta turn the voices to 8. The detune, it really depends on you. It's like a random thing for me a lot of times. I just set it wherever it sounds good. This one's panned slightly left, and you want to do the same thing on another oscillator, but then you want to pan it slightly right. And if you want to get even more creative, what you can do is you can add, like I added a pulse wave and a tri-saw wave on the part B of this, and then I have these panned hard left and hard right. And that just makes it have like a bit more of an interesting sound, like where it doesn't just sound like a saw wave. It just adds a little bit more texture to the sound itself. So you could play around with that, but that's generally how you make one. It's super easy. I mean, that's all it takes really. And then you can mess with the EQ right here. I'll just turn it on, because if you take it off, it literally sounds different. Just turning the EQ on, it makes it brighter. So I like to turn this EQ on, and that's it. There's nothing crazy. So as far as how it's processed, that's really what makes it sound the way it sounds. So if I take everything off, it sounds like this. That's what it sounds like stock. That's what it sounds like with the processing. So we have a Fruity Stereo Enhancer, because you guys know I love to just enhance everything. And then we got a Fruity Reverb, which is just making it have a bit more space around it. Then we got another Fruity Reverb, which this one I believe is for automation purposes, which I'll explain in a second. And then my bad. And then we got this one, which is also for automation purposes. This is how I did that's how I did the filter effect, by automating this. See how it just snaps back? So that's how I did that. And then we got a Soundgoodizer, which is doing like compression, saturation, various things, and that makes it sound pretty nice. If I take the Soundgoodizer off, it sounds like this. So it makes it a bit louder and add some high end. And then we got this mountain fucking EQ, which is just doing the most, but it works. So I mean, I'll just hover over everything. You guys can see what I'm doing. Boom, 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 boom. And yeah, then I just have it doing like it's rolling off at about 220 hertz, just to make room for like the mid bass and for the sub. So that's pretty much it. Nothing crazy to make these super saws. It's really to make good super saws, it's all about the stack. So it's all about the layering. It's all about the mid bass. Really, it's the mid bass that makes this. That's what gives the super saw all the character. Pretty much everyone uses the same saws, like as far as like people in like melodic bass and stuff. A lot of them sound the same, but what differentiates everyone from each other, I feel like, is the sub bass that they use and the mid bass that is supporting the super saw. Because the mid information is a lot of what you're hearing, and this super saw sound that you're hearing right now is a lot more like high end information. It's like brightness, but most of what you're hearing is usually like the mid bass. So yeah, as far as that reverb automation I was talking about, this is what the reverb automation is doing. So whenever it stops, I'll automate the reverb, so then it'll just like increase in the points when it's not playing. So then it creates like this tension, and it creates like this cool sweeping effect. So I'll show you what I mean. Okay, that is not the effect. This is the effect right here. So you see how it does that? Yeah. So if I take that off, it doesn't do it. But if I put it back on, and you could literally just do that by just having a reverb automate the wetness all the way like that. So boom, that's it. And I do that so much. Like literally so many producers do that. And it really, you could do some really cool stuff with it. Like you could just do a lot of stuff. There's like a lot of cool things that I'm not going to explain in this song, but in other songs, I use this effect. So you guys will be able to see how I use it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So now let's go into these other sounds. So we got the kick. Then we got a sidechain signal. How I like to sidechain things, some people like to use like volume shapers and like wave shapers and stuff. I don't know about wave shape, but like what I like to do is I like to use like a signal. So I'll use like a silent ghost kick, and then I'll route it into the mixer. I'll make sure I turn it down when it routes to the master so you can't hear it, but it's still playing. And what I'll do is I'll make a bus for a sidechain, and then I'll route everything to that bus. And then that way it just makes my life easy, and everything is sidechained the exact same way. It's just a lot easier than sidechaining everything individually. And if you want different sidechains, then just make multiple buses with different sidechain settings, and then just route whatever you want to have those settings to each corresponding bus, if that makes sense. So I have the sidechain settings for this is at negative 48.1 dB threshold. We got a 5:2 0.1 ratio. I think that's what it's saying. Release at 136 milliseconds, and then we have the sustain at 1 millisecond. And also, if you guys want specific tutorials on specific things, like I said, anything you guys want me to cover, comment below. Just comment what you want from me, and I will do my best to get those done. So, yeah, that's pretty much what's happening right here. And we got the snares. We already covered those. Reverse snare. And then we got this bass, which is just a sub bass. It's the same sub bass from Silence, so we don't need to cover anything really. Oh, actually, no, this is a different sub bass. So what I did with this one, I took the side gain all the way down, which I don't know why I did that. There literally is no side frequencies. There's like no side information. So this is when I didn't know too much about like mid side. I don't know what you would call it, but just this is the difference between the mid and the side, like the mono and the stereo field. I didn't know too much about it. Now I do, and that was pointless. Ooh, I think I just accidentally edited that. Oh well, it doesn't make that much of a difference. So we have the Soundgoodizer on the C setting. I like to use a C setting for sub basses. I don't know, something about it just sounds like fatter. If I put on the A setting, it just doesn't sound as good to me. Actually, I feel like the A one's kind of fatter, but it's all good. I mean, the song's done already, so can't make any changes. So next thing we got is this, where I actually low passed this at 105 hertz, and then I boosted it at 63 hertz, and that's it. That's it for the sub. So next thing. All right, so this is like what makes this song this song. So if I took this sound out, it sounds like this. It doesn't sound as full, right? But when I put it back, boom, it sounds a lot more full. So how this sound was made, this is Serum. This is a custom sound that I made. Gritty. Okay, so I used the gritty wavetable. And then what else did I do? Okay, really a lot of what makes it sound like this, I just use the gritty wavetable. I used the noise. I use like a noise oscillator. Boom. And then I put a hyper dimension, distortion, compression, and EQ. So if I take all this off, then it sounds like this. Definitely not as good. So let's put all that stuff back on. Boom. Oh shit, I mean to do that. My bad. Boom. Ooh, ooh, that's crispy. That's crispy. But yeah, it's super basic, really easy to make. As far as how to get it to sound like this even more, I just put a vocodex on it. These are the settings I did. I don't know technically how to use vocodex, but I just usually mess with settings. I mean, I know it well enough to know like what the knobs are gonna do as far as like how it makes it sound. I can't explain that to you guys, but it's just one of those things where it's like I just know how to use it, but I don't know how to explain how you use it. But it's a really cool plugin to use if you're trying to get some really cool, like, interesting bass textures. So I highly recommend it. Yeah. So then we got a Fruity Parametric EQ, which I'm just boosting at 7,436 hertz, and then I'm boosting at 138 hertz, 3.2 dB. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's how you get that really cool sound. Boom. So now we're gonna cover the mid basses, because that's what really makes the. If I take these mid basses off, this is what it sounds like. So you see what I was telling you? Literally, it's the mid basses that really make the super saw sound like the super saw. See this? Oh. Those mid basses, man, crucial. So let's go into those. So we got this one right here, the first one. This is main saw bass. This is actually made from a Serum preset. I don't know which one it is exactly, but yeah, I can't really explain how this one was made, like, but you guys could kind of see the settings here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So it was made in Serum. And then we got a Maserati B72, which really, like, this was kind of like a secret for me. This was like my secret sauce. But you know, hey, you know, you guys are on the Patreon. You guys paying for this information, so y'all get all the secrets, and I'm not holding nothing back. So the Maserati B72, this right here makes your bass. This will make your bass just sound like amazing. So, highly recommend you get this plugin for basses. If I take it off, this is what the bass sounds like. If I put it back on, really cool. It just adds like really nice texture. I like to use I think it's called like the hollow saw, but I made a preset called mid bass, so that's pretty much what it is. So then we have this EQ. I'm taking out some harsh frequencies I didn't like. I'm boosting other frequencies I did like, very basic, and then high pass it 116 hertz. And yeah, so that's it for that mid bass. And then we have this one, which just sounds kind of ugly, honestly. Sounds like super over compressed and stuff, but it works in the context of the mix, which is what matters. So this is actually something I made myself. I made a custom wavetable for this. It's kind of an ugly sounding bass, but I use this bass in a lot of songs though, because it fills up a lot of frequency information. Because I have some basses which I call filler basses, and filler basses for me is a concept of I use a bass that fills in like all the missing frequency information that the other sounds aren't covering. So it might sound really ugly, but it's very rich across the frequency spectrum. So it just glues everything together. It's kind of like the glue that makes everything sound good. So it sounds ugly by itself, but in the context of the mix, it's really nice. So here's all the settings and everything as far as like how it's processed, but you guys can't really do too much without this custom wavetable. So yeah. So we got a vocodex here. Boom. Can't explain how I really did it, but yeah, got a Fruity Parametric EQ, and I have it high passing at 189 hertz, and I have it boosting at about 900 hertz. I think this is pretty much where I cut the other one, so it's kind of filling in where I cut the other one, I believe. And then we got this one cutting at 2,531 hertz, and then we have it low passed at 9,100 hertz. It looks like. And that's it. If I take all these effects off, this is what it sounds like. So that's what the mid bass sounds like by itself. It's actually kind of nice sounding. I'm not even gonna lie. But with all this other stuff on it sounds a little oof. But yeah. So the final sound is this, as far as like synthesizers. So we have this super wide super saw. Super wide super saw. Super wide super saw. Alright, so the super wide super saw. We got a Fruity Stereo enhancer on here. I have it just maxed out to make it as wide as possible. Then I got a Fruity Reverb, which is just making it, you know, have a little bit more space. I got the MSED, right? Oh, wow. This time I didn't take all the mid away because I bet it sounded really bad when I did that. So I kept the mid frequencies and I just took them down a little bit. So then the sides would pop out a bit more. A Soundgoodizer. And then we got a Fruity Parametric EQ, which is just boosting some high frequencies. It's pretty much almost the same EQ as the other one, just like a little different, like the other super saw. I like to just really boost up like everything that isn't the low end, pretty much. So yeah, and that is it for all the synthesizers. So all together, all those synths sound like this. Oh, we actually got one more bass to cover, which is that. So this is actually a custom Xan Wow sound. Back when I was Xan Wow. Let's see. All right. So Xan Wow nasty bass. That's what I called it. This looks like it looks like it's a custom wavetable here. Dang man, this is actually a really nice sound. I'm not even gonna cap. This is like, yeah, that's nice. That's nice. But yeah, I can't explain how this was made. I was probably just messing around for like some minutes, and I was like, ooh man, this sounds pretty cool. So you guys can kind of look at what's going on here, and if you guys know CERN pretty well, then you may be able to recreate it, maybe. And then here's what's going on in the FX section. So let me know in the comments if you guys want me to give you guys all these presets and everything. Just let me know, and I'll get it to you guys sometime. Just let me know that you guys want the presets, and I'll make sure I get all those all rendered out for you and stuff. So boom. Okay, so then we got the Soundgoodizer right here, which is, you know, compressed and saturating. Got vocodecs, which is adding some really nice textures to the bass. Then we got a Fruity Parametric EQ, which is doing absolutely nothing. It's just here for no reason. I just do that sometimes. So without any effects on it, it sounds like this. That's what the bass sounds like. And then if I put everything back on, it sounds like this. So that vocodecs is what's doing all that. Ooh, that vocodecs is so amazing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for all these synthesizers at this point now. And as far as this section, so we have this sound right here, which is just a cymbal. Every time the kick hits, I have a cymbal hit, because I've learned that like cymbals, it just makes the mix sound so much more full. It's like an underrated thing. So an underrated thing, but I'm not gonna go into detail on this because it's literally just a cymbal. It's a cymbal every time the kick hits, and I have a ride that hits every time the kick hits. So those two are just layered on top of each other. I noticed that there are some sounds in the last section I did not cover, so I'm just gonna cover those really quick, just in case somebody mentions it in the comment. So we have this Wreckage FX from the Epic Cinematic FX. It's just got reverb on it, and I just have an EQ on it taking the sub frequencies out, so we don't need to cover that. Then we have this sound, which everyone uses. Yeah, so I use that sound all the time. It's a really good impact sound to use for songs. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And pretty much every time the drop hits, every time the drop hits, you hear this. So, man, my throat. All right, so if we go to the second part of this drop, then we get the melody that plays on top. All right, so let's go in how this was made. So originally, I believe I used, I forgot. Oh, it's called True Pianos. I think I used True Pianos for the piano originally, but I don't have True Pianos anymore. So I use Addictive Keys, and I just used the Intense Keys one, and that sounded really good. It like replicated what the other one was doing. So yeah, just Addictive Keys. It's pretty much the same thing as True Pianos. Honestly, Addictive Keys is better than True Pianos. I'd say. I think it's better. But as far as how I got to sound like this, we got this compressor here with these settings. You guys can see. Pretty much the same settings as the last pianos in the intro. Then we got some reverb after that, adding a little bit of space to it. I think it's about 50%, 66% wetness. Then we got a Fruity Stereo Enhancer, which is making it a bit wider. Then we got a Fruity Parametric EQ, which is just boosting some high end and cutting out all this low end, just like all the bass. Like how I usually judge things, I like this Parametric EQ because it tells you like bass, low, mids, everything. So what I usually do is that like I'll just be like, okay, I just cut it like right at this line, like right here. So yeah, that's how I determine where to cut things a lot of times. I just use this graph, honestly. It's pretty nice actually. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Boom. So that's how you get that. Then there's this layer. I believe this is Silent. Yes, it is. Very simple sound to make. It's pretty much like kind of similar. You're making this to a super saw almost. Actually no, it's not similar to super saw. You have like a saw wave here. Voices at 6. Then the next oscillator, you put a square of 2 voices. You want it to be lower volume than the other one. And then in the next part, I have a H pulse wave and a tri-saw wave, which are detuned a bit, with voices 7 and voices 8. And then what really makes it sound like this, like forget all of these settings. I mean, the distortion is important. The distortion is important. These settings are important. I'm not gonna say forget them. These settings are important. You pretty much could just turn these things on and it'll just pretty much sound like how it sounds. But what makes it sound like this is you want to get the pitch. You want to go to the LFO and you want to put pitch AB, and then you want to turn the rate. I turn my rate to 116 and I put the gain at 2. And you want to turn this up like very slightly. Like you do not want this to be high at all. Cause look, if you turn it up too high, I'll do it just to give an example. 160. Oh fuck, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, it's not gonna be the exact same as it was, but I'm not gonna say this. But see, if you do it too much, it sounds bad. And it's not even, I didn't even turn it up that loud. Like, so you gotta like really like be like super careful. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So I like to hold shift and then I'll dial in the value that I want it to have. So it was like at 163 or something. So I'll put it like around there. All right, cool. So that's how you get that sound. If I took this off, then it doesn't sound like that. It doesn't do like the It kind of gives it like a vibrato almost, like how someone sings when they're like like it kind of does the same thing for the synthesizer. So that's why I did that. So as far as how I processed it, Fruity Reverb, boom, Fruity Parametric EQ, which is just for automation purposes. Soundgoodizer, up just a little bit. Then we got Then we got Fruity Parametric EQ. We got a high pass at like 298 hertz, and then we got a boosted like, I mean, just like a tiny bit. And there's not much going on here. I don't need to explain myself. But yeah, that's pretty much how this is made. It's very simple. So next sound. Okay, this one is just not working for whatever reason. Okay, I use Nexus for this. I don't have Nexus, so sorry about that, you guys. It wasn't anything crazy anyways. It was probably just a supporting sound, but the main sound is this. So So what I did right here is I have like this Parametric EQ, which is on the master, and all this is doing is just, here, I'll show you guys. You guys can actually see for yourself. Right here. So it's just doing like a high pass automation thing where it just goes like, and then it cuts out. And then I have like this little sub drop thing happen right here. And then it goes into the next section. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that tutorial / walkthrough. If you would like to see way more in-depth content where I talk about pretty much all my most popular songs and some secret tips and tricks that allow me to make the music that I make sure to please go check out my Patreon. I have several different tiers where you can even have a private lesson with me. It could be a 30-minute lesson or a 60-minute lesson, depending on the tier that you get. All the tiers include having one question answered. So make sure to go check that out if you would like more in-depth tutorials / walkthroughs. I would really appreciate that. So make sure to go check out the Patreon. Hope you have a nice day or night or whatever time it is, wherever you are. Peace.